during negotiations that were televised live for nearly an hour. Lawmakers will meet again today to try to hash out that permanent solution for Dreamers. So joining us now is the man in that video, House Minority Whip, Congressman Steny Hoyer. He has been a key lawmaker involved in the negotiations, and you saw him there next to President Trump. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning.
It was really fascinating to watch that. What was it like inside the room?
It was a little surreal. It was the first time I participated in a meeting like that ever. And I've been meeting with many of his predecessors, but this was a unique meeting.
What, Congressman? Like meeting it televised, or what made it so different?
Having it televised, all of us expected after 5 minutes the press to be asked, as is normally the practice, okay, you've got your spray, you've got the pictures of the meeting, now you're going to leave and we're going to get down to business. But that was not the plan, apparently.
Right. So that moment that we just played, did you feel, it seemed like you felt the need to have to explain comprehensive immigration reform to the president?
Well, what I was indicating that we have to get to comprehensive immigration reform, but the positive part of the meeting was, first of all, that the president agreed that we needed to take care of the Dreamers. That they need to be protected, and they need to be protected in a way that he has suggested, and that is passing legislation to do just that, which is what he said when he overturned the DACA ruling of the Obama administration.
But is it your understanding that the upshot of that meeting was that you're going to get a clean bill for the Dreamers, or what came out of that meeting? What's the solution?
What came out of that meeting was suggestion by the majority leader of the House, Mr. McCarthy, that a number of items that they wanted to discuss. Obviously, when you have a negotiation, each party, each side has items that they want to discuss, and obviously that's going to be appropriate. So we'll do that. But we had a meeting yesterday with Mr. McCarthy, Senator Durbin, Senator Cornyn, and myself to try to get a process which we can discuss the issues that both sides want to discuss. We believe central to the any action that we take is the protection of the Dreamers, making sure that they stay here in this country, the only country that they really know, and a policy that is supported by the overwhelming majority of the American public, and I would suggest apparently supported. He was articulating that his support of that with Dianne Feinstein. Senator Grassley said the same thing, but at the end of the meeting, essentially, the president said, is there anybody here in the room? And there were 24 members, 17 senators, 7 House members. Are there anybody in this room who disagrees with protecting the Dreamers? Now, he said DACA, but the Dreamers, and no one indicated any opposition to that. So I think there's a consensus. I think there's an overwhelming majority of the House. I think there's a majority of the Senate who all, once a bill gets to the floor which protects Dreamers, will vote for it. So that's what we're discussing.
I'm glad that you now have some clarity on it, because I have to say there were some moments during the meeting that your facial expression belies that clarity. I know you don't have a monitor right now to see it, but we're playing a montage of your facial expressions throughout the meeting, which at times seemed bemused, I would say. What was going through your head at times?
I think that was accurate. I think that's an accurate interpretation. I was bemused because Majority Leader McCarthy jumped in on a number of occasions, which I think you had shown as well, to try to clarify what the president had responded to, because when Senator Feinstein in particular and Senator Grassley indicated they were protecting Dreamers, let's do that first, and then let's move on to comprehensive immigration reform. The president agreed with Senator Feinstein, and then the majority leader moved in and said, well, no, what we really mean is, and he expanded the president's answer. So I was bemused at that, but this is complicated. It's, this president is different than most, in my opinion, in terms of what he says and his flexibility to following up what he says. This is a very, very serious matter. It needs to be resolved. 86% of the American people think that there is no good policy sending these young people
Yeah.
back to a country they don't know, a place that they haven't grown up in. They're Americans in every sense of the word, and they're extraordinary. Those of us who have met Dreamers are just so impressed with their commitment to this country and their commitment to positive, value-added actions for our country and their communities.
And so as you stand there today, do you understand if a wall is connected to the protection for Dreamers? Must the wall be built in order for the Dreamers to stay?
What I understand is the President is concerned about security at the border. We're concerned about the security of the border. I think there's an overwhelming opinion that we need to maintain security at the border. How you get there will have to be discussed. The President talks about a wall. We talk about other items that we think will be much more effective and that will have a much greater consensus. We think, frankly, the building of the wall, its cost is not justified either by its efficiency or effectiveness. And therefore, but that will be.
But you think the President is open to rejecting, to ultimately working his way around to not having a physical wall?
Look, I think the President has talked about a wall through his campaign and continues to talk about a wall, and he's going to continue to talk about a wall. We'll have to see. But what I took from the meeting was a consensus, not on that, but a consensus on the fact that the Dreamers had to be protected.
Okay.
And the President was prepared to sign a bill to do just that. Now, what other aspects will be part of the discussions? I think you saw that in the meeting. It was covered, as you say, uniquely in terms of those discussions.
Yep.
But I am working very hard with Leader Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Senator Durbin, and Leader McCarthy to get us to an objective ASAP, as soon as possible.
Congressman Steny Hoyer, thank you very much for sharing your impressions. We'll be very interested to see what happens today.
Thanks a lot.
Chris.
All right. A Louisiana teacher who spoke her mind at a school board meeting ends up in handcuffs. The reason is why?